stay connected with the world through WION. Like the page on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter for new alerts. Instagram for videos and images. And the website for the latest news, views and analysis. WIONews.com. World is one.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Hi, I'm Alison Lagrange and you're watching eClub.
Here are the nominees for Achievement in Music.
People are totally wrong who keep telling me that, oh, you're a multitasker. I'm not.
Awards and fashion shows are in full swing.
Seeing a young, black man, directing a feature film, I saw myself in him.
Engage with us. Let us know what you'd like to see on the show and celebrities that you'd like us to feature.
Hello and welcome to WION World is One, broadcasting live from the British capital this hour. You're with me, Katie Pilwin. Let's get to the headlines. Ukraine claims it shot down 11 Russian drones overnight in a second night of attempted Russian strikes. Saudi Arabia signed Treaty of Amity and Cooperation with ASEAN in Jakarta, becoming the 51st country to sign the Peaceful Coexistence Pact with the regional grouping. Thailand's Move Forward Party accuses Election Commission of abuse of power after it recommended that the PM frontrunner Pita Limja Ro-Inrat be suspended for breaking campaign rules as an MP. Well, the latest face-off comes a day before the parliamentary vote for premiership. UK government lifts ceiling on penalties for polluting, meaning firms guilty of environmental damage will face unlimited fines without having to go through lengthy criminal prosecutions. The cap until now was $320,000. Four-time defending champion Novak Djokovic overcomes Andrei Rublev in 4 sets to reach his 12th Wimbledon semi-final. The Serbian will face Jannik Sinner next. And we begin with the first day of the NATO summit in the Lithuanian capital, Vilnius, because it did not meet Ukrainian President Zelensky's expectations as he failed to get a concrete timeline for Kyiv's membership bid. Well, even though the summit communiqué says that Ukraine's future is in NATO, it did not set a timetable for Ukraine to join the alliance. Well, according to the communiqué, NATO will be in a position to extend an invitation to Ukraine to join the alliance when allies agree and conditions are met. Now, the NATO chief, Jens Stoltenberg, said that leaders have approved the most comprehensive defence plan since the end of the Cold War for Ukraine.
We also made clear that we will issue an invitation for Ukraine to join NATO when allies agree and conditions are met. This is a strong package for Ukraine and a clear path towards its membership in NATO.
The G7 nations are also expected to issue a declaration on how they will help Kyiv and deter any new aggression in the coming years on the second day of the summit. However, the Czech President Petr Pavel says that support for Ukraine among allies is only going to decrease with time as it will start to suffer war fatigue. Now, on the sidelines of the summit, the Czech leader said that the window of opportunity for Ukraine to advance will close by the end of the year. Well, a number of important elections in 2024, including in Ukraine, Russia and the United States, will create a completely different situation by that time, and Ukraine will have to achieve significant advances until then. He also says whatever is achieved by the end of the year will be the baseline for negotiations in the war. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has expressed his disappointment with the vague wording of a joint communiqué and has said it's unprecedented and absurd, he said, that a time frame is not set for the Ukraine's membership. He called NATO's uncertainty over the matter a weakness.
We want to be on the same page with everybody, with all the understanding. And for today, what we hear and understand that we'll have this invitation when security measures will allow. Yes, so I want to discuss with our partners all these things, and the sword will speak today and fight for this. Its security guarantees for Ukraine on the way to NATO.
As Ukraine's bid for NATO membership failed and the war in Ukraine rages on, the UK government has stepped up military support for the country. Well, the British government has vowed to provide Ukraine with more than 70 combat and logistic vehicles. The plan also includes thousands of rounds of ammunition for Challenger 3 tanks and a $64.7 million support package for equipment repair. The UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said supporting Ukraine's progress on the pathway to NATO membership will send a strong signal to Russian President Vladimir Putin, while adding that the step will return to peace to Europe. Well, the UK also added that all Group 7 of the G7 members are expected to sign a new framework to provide long-term bilateral security commitments to Ukraine. Along with the support package, Sunak will also detail the plan to establish a medical rehabilitation centre for Ukrainian soldiers. Sunak will aim to provide the funding, though NATO's comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine. Despite mounting calls and the controversy surrounding the BBC presenter, the British broadcaster's chief, Tim Davie, has refused to reveal the identity of the staff member. For the fifth straight day now of headlines really dominating here in Britain, fresh revelations, I should say, have come forward. Well, let's take you through the details just now, because after the allegations that the BBC presenter paid over $40,000 in return of explicit images from a teenager, the media firm is reporting that another person in their 20s has come forward with claims that the same presenter has sent this individual threatening messages on a dating app. Well, various British media personalities are urging the presenter to reveal his identity. Now, the BBC Radio 2 presenter Jeremy Vine says these new allegations will result in yet more criticism towards innocent colleagues of his. He also tweeted the BBC is on its knees due to this scandal. Well, the British broadcaster has also come forward with a statement saying that it has verified that the messages sent to this individual were from a number that belonged to the same presenter. Now, these fresh revelations have also caused a frenzy on social media about the identity of this presenter.
This could be really damaging for the BBC. There have been a number of scandals over the last few years at the BBC, and each one of those does erode public trust. Now, I don't think the public expect the BBC to be able to control all of their staff's every movements, but I think they do expect openness and transparency. And the BBC are really struggling with that because laws prevent them from disclosing the name of this individual, and because inevitably investigations into what happened will take time.
Alex Isaac, our London reporter, is joining us now. Alex, this is very complicated, and also we have to be very careful in what we say because, of course, the identity has not been revealed of this presenter. But we can say that a fourth allegation has now emerged of when they met. There was a third one as well, claiming that they had met this presenter during lockdown, essentially breaking lockdown rules, and that they'd met through a dating app. It just seems more and more allegations and more pressure on the BBC to come out with the identity of this presenter.
Absolutely, and there are rumours as well that he may well be named in Parliament. That is something that could potentially happen. Obviously, the Speaker does have to agree with that if that's going to go forward, but it does set a strange precedent here. We don't really know exactly the ins and outs of what has been going on between this presenter and any of those people that have been messaging that presenter. Now, what we do understand is there was a contention between the original complainant's mother and the person that said that he'd had these photographs potentially taken. That person had said that there was nothing illegal and there was always all blown out of proportion, and that person has their own lawyer now. But obviously since then we have seen these other allegations come forward, but so far they haven't actually been super defamatory. They've mentioned that yes, there was a meeting in COVID, that there was on dating apps, and there was a few conversations that potentially turned a bit explicit, but those are not illegal issues. The real problem here is when it comes to how the BBC have been dealing with this allegation, because this is, as says, one of the many, unfortunately, that has happened not just within the BBC but with any other trusted organisation. Let's take the government as well. Chris Pincer, for example. When there is allegations of sexual misconduct in any company, then the company should always be straight on top of it. But it does seem that the complaint was put out on the 19th of May, and nothing was done until The Sun wrote an article, and then it has gone very fast and very quick, and then obviously these other allegations to come forward. The police are doing an investigation at the moment, and the BBC have said that they've halted their investigation for the time being until the police come back to them. But there is going to be a lot of questions about whether or not the BBC can be trusted, whether or not there are these practices in place, and whether or not this presenter does have a right to privacy, because at the moment there are laws in place, especially in the UK, where he can't be named, and of course other countries, the US is one example, has named him already because of the rumours that are going around. But it's quite clear that if people are starting to put his name about on social media, that they really shouldn't, especially it's defamatory if they are causing that this police investigation does turn out to be an inaccurate accusation. But what it does really come clear is that many of those people within the BBC are now asking this presenter to come forward himself and explain exactly what happens. There's only his side of the story that we've not yet heard, and that's what people really want to hear. And a lot of the other presenters are saying, people are still saying it's them, and they would just like them to come out and say, this is what happens, it's a situation. But it's unlikely that's going to happen now. As we understand, the presenter has his own lawyer and his own legal team.
Right, okay, thank you. so much. And as you say, other presenters, including Jeremy Vine, are calling him to perhaps come out, as the BBC, as he said, is on its knees right now. So we will be watching that. As you say, it's all over social media anyway. There aren't the same media laws in regards to that. But with parliamentary privilege, we might even have it revealed today. Who knows? Alex Isaac, thank you so very much indeed. The UK's Royal Mail has become the first sector to announce a plan to end weeks of industrial action. The Royal Mail Union has come out to accept a new pay deal to end a series of strikes. Well, the Communication Workers Union held a ballot and 76% of votes were in favour of ending the strikes. The General Secretary of the union welcomed the result. He said this result will be the start of the union reconnecting in every workplace. He also urged the new CEO of the company to cooperate, while warning that the same old tactics can finish the operations of the Royal Mail service. Now, in May, International Distribution Services, or the IDS, reported an annual loss following the mass strike, in which, at the time, 115,000 workers participated in 18 days of strike action. The IDS reported a loss after tax of $1.1 billion. Now, even before the strikes last year, Royal Mail's former executive Simon Thompson announced a cut in 10,000 Royal Mail roles. The more than 500 years old Royal Mail has been experiencing turbulent times, particularly following its controversial privatisation in 2013. Charles Manson, the American cult head who terrorized Los Angeles in 1969, is back in the news again because a member of the so-called Manson family has been let out of jail. Now, Leslie Van Houten was only 19 years old when she followed Manson's orders and went on a killing spree. After conviction, she has spent 53 years in prison. In May, a California appeals court overruled the Californian government and found that Van Houten was entitled to parole. Now, after the ruling, California Governor Gavin Newsom stopped denying parole to Van Houten. She is the first from the family to receive parole after being convicted for 7 murders. Van Houten has now left a South Californian prison on parole. Reports say she is presently at a confidential location where she will spend a year there. Microsoft's ambition plan to acquire video game giant Activision Blizzard has reached a significant milestone now. The $69 billion deal has overcome major hurdles as a US judge grants approval, and even a British regulator hints at a possible change of heart. Well, a US judge has given the thumbs up to the deal, dismissing concerns that it would harm protection in the gaming industry. The judge's decision has sent Activision shares soaring by 10%, marking a significant win for Microsoft. Now, this acquisition, which would be Microsoft's largest ever and the largest in the gaming industry's history, has faced opposition from the United States and Britain. However, after the US judge's ruling, the British regulator, the Competition and Markets Authority, has indicated a willingness to reconsider its position, suggesting a potential resolution between the parties. Now, the US Federal Trade Commission, which had raised concerns about the deal, has until Friday to appeal the judge's decision. However, legal experts believe the FTC may face challenges in any appeal it does. The judge found no evidence to support the FTC's claim that Microsoft would make popular games like Call of Duty exclusive to its Xbox platform, thus harming competition. That was the concern originally. Now, to address antitrust concerns, Microsoft has made commitments to license Call of Duty to rival platforms, including a 10-year contract with Nintendo. Now, the gaming industry is experiencing tremendous growth, with sales projected to reach $321 billion over the next 4 years. Now, this acquisition by Microsoft further solidifies its position in the gaming market and opens up new possibilities for future innovations. While the FTC has expressed disappointment with the outcome, they remain determined to protect competition and consumer interests. Well, it's a happy Wednesday for all Tom Cruise fans. The 61-year-old actor has returned as Ethan Hunt once again after a wait of 5 years. Mission Impossible is back in cinemas with its 7th instalment. More details in our next report.
After the huge success of Top Gun Maverick in 2022, Tom Cruise is back where he belongs, doing death-defying stunts on the big screen. Written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, the 7th installment of Mission Impossible is off to a sensational start. The publicity for this movie started in 2020, when a video of Cruise jumping off a cliff went viral on social media. The movie also features a dangerous train wreck sequence, where Cruise is seen fighting on top of a train. Dead Reckoning Part 1 sees Haley Atwell join the franchise. Meanwhile, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, Angela Bassett and Frederick Schmidt will be reprising their roles. The movie is expecting to set a franchise global opening record at the box office with a $250 million debut. Will Tom Cruise pull it off? We say it's Mission Possible. Bureau Report, WION